I wanna show your love. I'm loved by you. Purify my heart in all I do. I will love my friends and my enemies. You died for me. Now I believe we're blessed and always will be sons and daughters of the King with royalty. We're blessed and always will be sons and daughters of the King with royalty. You are forever our King. Jesus, help me be like you. Help me be like you. Jesus, help me see like you do. Help me see like you. Like you. We're blessed and always will be sons and daughters of the King with royalty. We're blessed and always will be sons and daughters of the King with royalty. You are forever our King.
There once was a king named Ahab who married the very wicked Queen Jezebel. She did not want what God wanted. Queen Jezebel worshipped a fake god named Baal and wanted everyone in her kingdom to bow down to him. She was so evil that she threatened to have everyone who did not worship Baal killed, including the prophets of the one true God. One brave prophet named Elijah wasn't afraid, and he knew he had to show the people that the one true God was the right one to worship. He told King Ahab to call together the worshippers of Baal and meet up on Mount Carmel. Elijah said to the people, "You build an altar and pray to Baal, I will build an altar and pray to God. And the God who listens and starts the fire on the altar is the one that we should all worship, the one true God." They shouted and danced around the altar, yelling for Baal to start the fire. They did this from morning till noon, with no answer. Finally, Elijah told the people who worship Baal, "Maybe you're not shouting loud enough. Baal is probably busy or sleeping and can't hear you. You better shout louder." So, all day long they kept trying, but still nothing happened. Elijah called the people over to the altar he had built and asked them to pour water all over the wood and the altar. The people started to laugh at Elijah because they knew that his God would not be able to start a fire now. That did not worry Elijah. He stepped forward and simply prayed to God, "God, show us today that you are the one true God of Israel." Just as Elijah finished his prayer to God, fire came down from the sky. Everything was covered in flames, burnt down to nothing, and every drop of water was gone. The people were amazed and cried out, "The Lord is the one true God." Because Elijah stood up for what was right and kept his thoughts pure by focusing on God, the people were able to see that there is one true God. Just like Elijah was blessed, we will be blessed when we keep our thoughts pure.
God's story, Elijah. So part of God's story is about a guy named Elijah, and it goes like this. Elijah's job was to talk to God and tell God's special family, the Israelites, what God said. So he was called a prophet. Unfortunately, the rulers of Israel were King Ahab and his wife Jezebel. They were the most wicked leaders Israel had ever had, and they didn't care what God had to say. They made Elijah's job really hard, but just wait until you see what God did for him. See, Ahab and Jezebel worshipped Baal instead of God, Baal was a false god, an idol. Kids, an idol is anything that gets the attention we should be giving God. Money, stuff, or even people can be idols. And when Ahab and Jezebel worshiped Baal, they turned a lot of God's family away from God too. But here's the thing. God wants all of our worship and love, and he totally deserves it. So God sent Elijah to tell Ahab and Jezebel that it wasn't going to rain for a while. There wouldn't even be dew. That means crops wouldn't grow. So the Israelites would run out of food. Then they would think Baal was angry, and they'd blame Ahab. When the king heard Elijah's message, he was furious. He wanted to kill Elijah. So God told Elijah to go hide in the wilderness. And just like he had said, there was no rain. In fact, for 3 more years, it was dry. But Ahab and Jezebel kept right on worshiping Baal and asking him for rain. Of course, that didn't work. So they stayed mad at Elijah too. They actually killed as many of God's prophets as they could find. But all that time, God kept Elijah safe. And Elijah kept telling people to believe in the real God. A few did, like a widow who saw God do miracles through Elijah. But most kept worshiping Baal with Ahab and Jezebel. Finally, in the 3rd year of drought, God told Elijah to go talk to Ahab again. This time, Elijah challenged the king to a contest that would show who was real, Baal or God. Ahab brought 450 prophets of Baal to meet Elijah at a place called Mount Carmel. They built an altar to worship Baal, and Elijah built an altar to worship God. They both prayed for fire and then waited to see whose God brought it first. And since Baal was a false god, you can probably guess who won. Yep, God. In fact, he sent so much fire, it burned up Elijah's altar and everything around it. After that, Elijah prayed for rain, and God sent it. It seems like maybe Ahab and Jezebel would follow God after that, right? But they only got more angry. Jezebel sent Elijah a message that she was going to kill him, so Elijah ran away again. This time because he was scared. Even though God had kept him safe for years, he wanted to quit being a prophet. He didn't think anybody listened to him anyway. He laid under a tree and said, "I've had enough, Lord." Then he went to sleep. God must have understood how Elijah felt, because guess what he did? First, he sent an angel to cook Elijah some bread. Then God let Elijah see him. Elijah had talked to God a lot, but he'd never seen him. While Elijah was waiting for God, he saw a windstorm, then an earthquake, then a fire pass him by. But God wasn't in any of those. Then he heard a gentle whisper. There was God. Elijah had spent his life obeying God, even though people wanted to kill him for it. But guess what? Ahab and Jezebel never could kill Elijah. Actually, Elijah didn't die, not even of old age. Instead, God sent a chariot of fire, and Elijah rode it right up to heaven. We don't know exactly how that happened, but it did. God didn't make Elijah's job easier, but he did take care of him. And in the end, Elijah got to be with his God, the real God, in heaven. And that's the story of Elijah. So in case you missed it, here's the quick version. Elijah was a prophet. Ahab and Jezebel worshipped idols. Elijah gave them messages from God. They got mad. God told Elijah to run away. Elijah proved God is real. Jezebel got mad. Elijah ran away. He wanted to quit. God was gentle with him. Ahab and Jezebel couldn't kill Elijah. God took Elijah to heaven in a chariot of fire. And that's part of God's story.
Let the king of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my song. Let the king of my heart be the fire